Well, my name is Kiren. I am an energy healer and also a coach that specializes within interracial relationships, dating, and self-love.
We talked last time about your Kundalini activation.
Sometimes it's so hard to explain what activating the Kundalini is and how it's about energy healing. And actually, it's just your energy that we're tapping into. You are always in control. It's about guiding and allowing your own energy to awaken. You're not allowing external forces to dictate or control you.
Just because I know you're in that space of energy healing, do you feel like it's looked badly still in regards to the wider audience?
Do you mean like people that think it's loads of woo-hoo?
Yeah.
The people that are meant to find you will find you.
Yeah.
It's about bringing you back home to yourself. So when I think about outside perspectives of, oh, energy healing doesn't work, whatever that may be, I'm like, okay, that's fine. That's your reality. Doesn't mean that's true for everyone.
We said prior, we'll talk about this year that you've had.
Life this year has literally just chewed me out and spat me out. I say this year, but I'm talking about 2024.
Yeah.
I just felt like so much was revealed to me in that moment that it kind of, again, created this ripple effect in my life. The end of a relationship, plus some challenges with where I was working before, plus moving out of my home, plus having these aspirations to go traveling. That didn't come to fruition. And I was like, God, I can't take this anymore. Like, why me? Why is this happening? That's what led me to digging deeper into shadow work.
Welcome everyone to another episode of the Unfiltered podcast, where we take the eye out of unfiltered and put the emphasis directly on you. This is the one platform where we take our filters down. We have raw, authentic, vulnerable conversations around the challenges we're all facing today. Now, if you're a fan of the unfiltered nature of this podcast and you want more of these conversations to be normalized, then why not help me help you? To get more guests onto this platform, to have those conversations that I know you want me to speak about, I'm gonna need a little favor from you. If it isn't too much to ask, why don't you hit that subscribe button right now? And at the end of the episode, if it's hit home for you, why don't you give it a thumbs up and leave a comment about what really resonates with you. Now, with that all said and done, let's get straight back into the episode. Hello again.
Hello.
How are you doing, stranger?
I'm very, very well, thank you. How have you been doing?
I am doing very, very well, thank you. Let's do the formal introductions for those who don't remember you from the last episode and who should remember you from the last episode. Let the audience know.
Nice. Okay. Well, my name is Kiren. I am an energy healer and also a coach that specializes within interracial relationships, dating, and self-love.
Jeez. How's it going since the last time we spoke?
Oh my God. It feels like life has been lifing. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
It feels like life this year has literally just chewed me out and spat me out. I say this year, but I'm talking about 2024.
Yeah.
So it's been a real transformative journey. And that's kind of brought me to why I'm here today.
No, well, we're going to get unfiltered about it. But are you still working full time?
Yeah.
And everything you're doing with your healing and coaching is all on the side? Because you had a couple of, I know you sent me events last year. I couldn't come to them, but we talked last time about your Kundalini activation. I've seen the links, and you know it's weird.
Sure.
I've got Eventbrite on my phone, and I get like loads of like Kundalini things come up just because I've obviously clicked on yours.
Oh my God.
And so now how did that all go?
It all went really well, thank you. I think so. I have been working full time. I actually left my job from the company that I was working at before last year, which was part of the transitional journey. At the moment I'm working with a different company and also being able to focus on my passion, which is around energy healing, self-help, self-love. With the events themselves, it's been really beautiful. I've actually had a couple of friends join where they weren't too sure about what it was, because sometimes it's so hard to explain what activating the Kundalini is and how it's about energy healing. And actually, it's just your energy that we're tapping into. And it was just so beautiful, like having them in that space, and now they're able to understand what it is, and they've had so many shifts in their own life as a result of it. And so it's been going really well. Good.
Any more planned for the year?
Yes, I'm actually having a huge one coming up on the 25th of January called Rebirth.
Okay.
And that's going to be more of a workshop which still has the energy healing component in it.
Fine.
But what we're going to be doing as part of that is setting really deep intentions to help the energy flow through the body, and also create this ripple effect of what we want to welcome in our life in 2025, whilst also honoring where we were and the lessons learned in 2024 and even prior to that. And so it's like a really intentionally focused session where people will just get to just simply release, enjoy the present, bless their present life and their future, and then being able to step into that reality after the workshop.
Okay. Is it you doing it yourself?
Yeah.
Gang.
Yeah.
Okay. Check her out. Yeah, let's go. 25th of Jan.
Yes.
So this is probably going to come out after that, but hopefully you can then give a little summary on how it all went as well. And
I would love that. I think maybe you could give a summary.
Okay, fine. 25th of Jan. I will block it out in my head right now. There is an event I'm going to on the 30th. I've committed myself to going to. So why not?
Yeah,
why not? See, but I'm scared about this like energy healing stuff. I can't lie.
I'm glad you said that. What are you scared of?
I don't like. Don't judge me on this either. It's a non-judgmental podcast.
Well, I'm not going to judge you first of all, but
so I don't like scary films and thrillers and horrors. Like, hands across my face. Like, I don't want to. If I hear the sound, I'm like, I just don't like it. And when I've seen some stuff of like energy healing, and I've seen people tap into energies like Navratri and Garba when they get like some sort of spiritual awakening, like that shit scares me. I'm just thinking, if I'm not in control of my body, what the hell is going to happen? And so when people talk about like energy healing, my first thought goes to, if this is going to take me to a place where I'm literally not in control, I'm probably going to trip out. And I know it might not be exactly what you do, or there might be an element of it, but yeah, that's my fear around it.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm actually really glad that you said that, because first of all, with the Garba thing, I hear it. I know people that have also like invited that energy within their space. And so it's like, it can be really scary, especially at Garba, when suddenly, you know, you're doing the Garba and then suddenly Mataji or whomever comes into that space. It can be quite scary.
I see a facial expression. I'm like, this person looks possessed.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people think, because they're channeling the divine. And actually, it's really important to note that it doesn't just happen. They will have had a calling to welcome that energy into their physical being, to be that channel, so to speak. So it's not necessarily like this life force energy can just take over anyone in that spiritual sense, which is slightly different to Kundalini activation. So I can totally understand where you're coming from that. And within the aspect of what I do, and generally speaking within the space of energy healing, you are always in control. That's why for the Jan workshop, it's all about intention setting. It's about guiding and allowing your own energy to awaken. You're not allowing external forces to dictate or control you. And I think that's such a powerful message to remember, that we are so powerful as human beings and we have so much agency over our own life. And yet we give out all of our power to external forces, whether it's through like, you know, consumerism or allowing people to dictate what we're like through social media and stuff like that. Actually, no, with this type of energy healing session, it's about coming back into your own truth and your own power. It's not me doing anything to you. It's you surrendering to the frequency that's in the room that's going to allow you to connect deeper to your own intuition.
Okay.
And so actually, I found this quote the other day that was coming up on my feed. And I was like, I really wanted to share this with you because it's so powerful. And this is literally Kundalini activation, Kundalini awakening down to a T.
Yeah.
And it says, if Kundalini rises, it unleashes a flood that wipes away your petty creations and leaves you as the creator intended you to be. Now, what does
that's
mean?
Scary. What do you mean what the creator intended you to be? Especially if I feel like I'm quite good right now and I come to this.
Yeah. It's nothing negative. I think the creator being like what your true essence is, whether you're religious or not, it's like your petty creations being your ego, the things we absorb from family, religion, socials, culture, all the crap that we don't need. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All the stuff where it's like, oh, I'm, if I'm you, I'm a podcaster, I'm an Indian male, I'm 6 foot, whatever, and I go to the gym. That's not your true essence. If we strip all of that back, it's like, who are you?
See, so I'm glad you said that right now, because I've been doing a lot of work around like what my why is, what my origin story is, and how that's going to translate within this coaching space and building the business and the brand. And kind of what you said there, like, who are you kind of thing. I did something, and one thing I realized, I'm going to hopefully bring this person on so she can like articulate so much better than I'm probably going to butcher it right now. But this session that we had, she got me realizing that I am very much grounded and like from my feet and my soul, like that's where this unfilteredness comes out from. And up here right now in my head is where the automatic shift just goes into, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
You should be there to provide for him. You should be doing that for your mum and dad, etc., etc.
Yeah, the conditioning.
And that gets in the way of where this is really trying to take me. So I need to focus on being more grounded. And it was weird, like the exercise we did, like originally I said to her, it just feels very dark and cold right now. She said, I reckon that's probably playing a part. So let's try it again.
Yeah.
And we did it again, and it was just like quite light, quite refreshing, quite like, I said to her, it's like bolts of electricity just seems, and whether I was chatting shit, I don't know, but that's what it felt like. And it really planted a seed in regards to that, now linked to like say what I've taken from therapy and my other coach. And I'm seeing a little trend in regards to the kind of person I'd like to be moving forward versus this possible persona that I've been showcasing for like the last year or two in regards to this coach or this Uncle Pre, etc. There's something a bit more deeper in that. So
I love that.
Because another thing with like energy healing as well, because I've had people talk about like say crystals, Reiki and all of this stuff, and I'm like, I guarantee if you're not invested in this, you probably think, what is this hoo-ha? Yeah. And there's something ingrained within this. There's a reason why it's there. There's a reason why people go to like tarot card talkers and psychics and get specific crystals for their house, and they go to healing sessions and Reiki and all of that. There is a reason why people do this.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's been just because I know you're in that space of energy healing, do you feel like it's looked badly still in regards to the wider audience, not the audience that are ingrained within it?
Do you mean like people that think it's loads of woo-hoo?
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't pay any attention to that, because the people, and you'll find this with your coaching, the people that are meant to find you will find you. Yeah. So for example, when I coach people, I don't just take on anyone. Yeah. I take on people that are willing to do the work, because I'm not here to do the work for you. I'm here to unlock something that allows you to tap into your own inner power, whether that's through coaching, whether that's through energy healing, etc., or even through my own podcast, really. It's about bringing you back home to yourself. And so when I think about outside perspectives of, oh, energy healing doesn't work or whatever that may be, I'm like, okay, that's fine. That's your reality. Doesn't mean that's true for everyone. Yeah. You know?
But do you think there should be a little bit more emphasis around showcasing the true power behind it? And what I mean by that is because like I've learned a different way of articulating what coaching is now to an old gentleman at a golf club who's probably worked corporate or was a pharmacist, a doctor, whatever their roles were. And obviously if I say to them, this is what I do, they might, what's this, who are you kind of thing? Are you qualified? What are you talking about? As soon as I break it down in regards to, let's say, the steps and what this outside noise in regards to like coaches and therapists have got me thinking about, what's my formula? Talk about it from a perspective of what is it that you're really helping people achieve, and you can articulate it differently. Yeah. They start to understand and they start to see a side of it. Yes. Do you feel like if there was anything around energy healing, because you hear the words, and I'm still thinking, but what? I saw the Kundalini, and I said to you when I just saw all of this stuff, but there's an activation, and there's how do you? My point being, like, do you feel like there's still a a gap in the market to really explain the benefit of what you're doing for me, for instance, the journey you're taking me through, what you might be taking that dad through, what you might be taking. Do you feel like there is that gap there?
Totally. And it's such a good and valid point that you make. And it's been something that I've been trying to explore in my own mind of how can I make this type of healing or this modality more accessible to people that aren't already in that space. And you see people like the Jay Shettys of the world who take the wisdom from the Bhagavad Gita, the Vedas, all of that, and he makes it so accessible to people that aren't in that spiritual space, but that can practically apply it in their life now. And that's personally something that I'm still working through on my own journey, because there's a part of me that's like, I don't want to dishonor where this kind of source energy comes from, or like the power and the benefits, like you see with yoga. Do you know what I mean? Like where you see like this complete colonization of what yoga actually represents.
Yeah.
It's like you have to look like a Lululemon model. Shout out to Lululemon, like fair enough. But it's like, well, no, it's accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
And actually, if you went to India and you saw like a yoga studio or yoga teacher, they'd be teaching little mussies in their kurtas or whatever, like doing yoga. They don't have to look a certain type of way. It's a way of life, it's a way of being. And so in my mind at the moment, I've been trying to really balance what does that look like, because I don't want to dishonor the roots and completely whitewash it just so it's accessible. But also it's like even using some of the terminology about what is energy healing, what is life force energy, what is Kundalini. I'm still working through that.
No, fair. As in, this isn't to like discredit or anything. It was more of like
not at all. I get it.
From my perspective, I just think that there's definitely something there which has not been shown, or at least what I've seen anyway, because I try and get other coaches to think like this. I'm like, you have a very, very strong passion to help this individual person, but you're not showcasing that story. You're not telling the person right now what they're possibly going to go through and what they're going to experience in this and why it's a good fit for them.
Yeah.
Like when I say it to the golfer, I help, like, let's say for instance, uncle, like your daughter, for instance, is she single? Is she married? Paint the story for him. And then he's like, no, she is single. And I said, how old is she? This is her age. She's in her late 20s. Okay, cool. She probably feels a lot of pressure right now to get married. Is she seeing anyone? She got a boyfriend? No. Does she work pretty hard? Yes. Now he's getting a bit of understanding of why I do what I do. I said, she probably doesn't want to upset you, but she's trying her best right now. But she probably feels all of this pressure, etc., etc., etc. So I work with her in a way where I help her build her confidence and possibly build relationships with yourself or your wife or whoever who she probably feels is limiting her to actually be herself, because I guarantee you just want the best for her, right? And he's like, yeah, of course I do. I'm like, she probably doesn't know that. So hence why when I have that conversation over this period of time, it's going to do something very different for her. And he understands it. And now whether or not he wants to introduce me to his daughter to help her, or he's got a niece or someone, it's planted that seed. And so like, I just feel like, I know I just completely digress going into energy healing there, but I just feel like when I hear about it, it just makes me think, I see so much of this stuff, but I'm still trying to figure out the why.
As in why to do it?
Yeah. I told you my fear. Like, I don't want to be in control, but you're telling me like you're stepping into your divine, right?
Yeah, I say when I speak about stepping into the divine, I mean basically at the core of everyone, we have this life force energy, and it's part of something greater. But if we don't want to look at it from that spiritual lens, essentially all we're saying in a very simplified way is that throughout our life, we've accumulated so much stuff, so many layers, if we think about it like an onion, from the conditioning from religion, family, culture, etc., our sense of worthiness, our own ego. And so through doing this life force energy healing, all that happens is that it's a deep meditation where you quieten down the mind and you tap into your own energy, and you allow it to naturally create this ripple effect within you where it will start to loosen some of those layers, if not remove them altogether.
Okay. It's like shedding skin, like a snake.
Yes, and that's so perfect that you say that, because the Kundalini is depicted as a serpent.
Yeah.
So if then we were to get into it,
Now I'm getting
right?
it. Yeah.
If we were able to get into it in from of a more spiritual lens, if I was to explain it that way, we say the Kundalini is kind of depicted as a serpent that resides within the base of our spine. When we awaken it, it starts to uncoil, and the actual movement is that it moves from the base of our spine near our root chakra through all the different chakras and rises up to our crown, and then allows that flow of energy to come back down. But it's through that rising that the layers start to shed, they start to loosen. And actually, it's like, if you are really afraid from the first session, you could set your intention to be like, I don't want to feel this fear anymore. Show me what my power is. And the energy will work with you to remove that. But you have to keep your focus on that intention. So when your mind starts to chatter, which is so normal and natural, you say, no, you stay firm. This is what I want from this experience, and I trust that you will show me.
I hear it.
And you surrender.
I hear it. That's
it
different. Fair. Okay, well, let's see what the 25th says. Let's see what the 25th says.
I'm so here for it. I can't wait to have a conversation with you after, because then we could talk about what it was. And it might be something totally different to what you ever expected. That's what I find with Kundalini activation.
This is why I'm smiling, because I feel like if it's hella cool, I'll probably be like all over it. But right now, I'm just thinking, shit, this is going to be weird. But we're all here for it. We're all here for it.
Do you know what? Even if it is weird, accept it. There's no judgment. And it's when our own minds start to make up these constructs of what's right or wrong, negative, positive, weird, not weird. Allow yourself to feel weird. It's fine.
This is true. This is very true. It's very true. I would encourage people to do that as well. No, you know, I can't say it and not do anything about it. We said prior that we'll talk about this year that you've had without going into too much detail, but like, there's something there, and there's a conversation there. I think from the both of us, we could probably tap into a bit. So you've had like a bit of a transformation all year, and like, I remember when I looked at my 2024 highlights, I was thinking, I've actually done a fair amount. You know, respect, like your mood board, you ticked a lot of stuff off. Well done. And there were definitely a lot of lows that I possibly in the past would have like glossed over. So I didn't want it to just be all smiles and sunshine. Like I'm very much aware that there were parts where it was a bit rough and a bit tough. But you said that you've had this transition and you're seeing things a bit differently. And another thing, like I know when you take a break off Instagram and stuff, that probably might be playing a part, or there might be extra noise. Like, talk to me, what's going on?
I think from the last time that we met, I think it was around Feb time actually, and since then, I went on a journey where I was working with plant medicine, so ayahuasca. I've got a podcast coming out around my ayahuasca journey, but essentially it's a psychedelic that you take, and you set very powerful intentions to learn certain things about yourself or heal certain parts of yourself. After my ayahuasca journey, I just felt like so much was revealed to me in that moment that it kind of, again, created this ripple effect in my life. And last year was probably one of the hardest years of my life, to date, because it was like the end of a relationship, someone that I loved very, very much, and that ended. And I knew that was going to come to an end at some point, but it was still exceptionally hard for me to go through that, plus some challenges with where I was working before, plus moving out of my home, plus having these aspirations to go traveling or moving, and that didn't come to fruition. All of it happened within a very short period of time and at the same time. And I remember there were certain things that were happening, and I was like, God, I can't take this anymore. Like, why me? Why is this happening? And I genuinely felt like I was dying through every single layer of those aspects. Like, I felt like I was having an ego death, and it felt very powerful, but it felt like I don't want to deal with this. And as someone that does energy healing, as someone that does coaching, I equally work with a lot of other coaches to help me through my own journey, as I know you do with your own journey, right? Like, we all do this to keep elevating, to keep expanding, to keep growing. And so for me, there was just this point where my emotions were just so high, I couldn't cope, and I felt like I was just failing. And I was just so sat in this like victim state of where I felt extremely helpless. And that's what led me to digging deeper into shadow work. So shadow work being all the parts of us that we suppress, deny, shame, judge, which typically can come from childhood. And so we perceive it to be good or bad unconsciously. So when I was going through all those things, it was like I didn't want to feel angry. I didn't want to feel afraid. I didn't want to feel like I couldn't cope. And so I was keeping it like a pressure cooker. I was keeping it all below the top until suddenly just a really simple thing could have just triggered me. And then all of it came out. And as I was doing this work, I was like, I've done this shit before. Why can't I do this now? And I was getting even more frustrated with myself. And so it kind of I just kept going down into this spiral of like beating myself up, feeling afraid, not knowing how to move forward, and just feeling so angry. And then I recognized I need to sit within this discomfort because there's so much power in learning how to do that and taking back my power and control. And I think also because I was trying to control so much of the external, it made me feel, it was like this paradox where I felt like I couldn't control anything. And actually, so when I speak about coming back into your own power, coming back into what you can control, you can only look after yourself, you can only control you. And so when we start to do things like shadow work and sitting with that discomfort, sitting with all the pain, sitting with all the grief, we can start to soften it a little bit.
I was just going to say that, let it go.
Yeah.
Are you still in that process right now, or would you say you're a lot better than where you were?
Yeah, it's super interesting that you say that. There are times when, well, shadow work is a journey, and I think the essence of it is you start to become more consciously aware when it comes up.
Yeah.
Your shadow is part of you.
Yeah.
It's not something to judge or shame or feel guilty about. We all have a shadow. No matter what anyone projects online or even with our own family constructs, we all have it.
Yeah.
And actually, it's a really beautiful thing once you start to become friends with your shadow and start to love it, start to nurture it, because you're like, I see you. And you start to ask yourself, like, if you feel triggered by something or you notice a unconscious thought becoming more conscious, like, oh, I don't feel good enough, or why do they get to do this and I don't? You can observe it from a very neutral space and be like, who's speaking like this right now? What part of me is saying this? Is it the 12-year-old that felt lonely or felt like X, Y, and Z? Or is it another part of me? And you start to dig a little bit deeper, start to have more compassion for it. And you start to understand that you are not your thoughts. You are not this version of yourself, but it is still part of you.
I hear it. Do you feel like when you, because kind of what you said there, like it softens, and like I had something similar where I'm trying to remember when last year it happened, maybe towards middle of the year or back end of the year or something, and I knew I was holding something, like it's like a lump in your throat feeling, kind of like quite down. And I was like, I tried like putting it aside, and I remember like therapy was like, no, sit with this and really talk about it. I remember once he said, we had a session and I was doing it from the car, so I just stayed in the car and I just try to just feel and just journal like in my head what I was going through and just feel. And then got a bit vulnerable with that, so it was cool. But I knew there was more I had to do when this, although I don't want to call it an episode, but when it came up, I said to myself, all right, you need to look at yourself in the mirror right now, and just sit with it.
Yes.
So I remember sitting at the edge of my bed, mirrors in front, and I put on like I triggered it because I put on like some emotional YouTube shit, just because I felt like I don't want to just sit here and look, because I know I'm not feeling it. It's there, it just needs an on button to be switched on. So I've got stuff going on and I'm just staring at myself. And like you can feel like I was getting a little bit hot, and then I started like just a little bit of a sniffle and stuff, and it was just like the emotions were allowed to pour out,
Yeah.
It was actually very interesting because it's like it felt deep, but then the next day, I'm not saying I had a miraculous recovery, but I felt a lot lighter.
Yeah.
And I feel like obviously it still looked done in a bad way, and like what you do, you just sit in front of the mirror and cry. I was like, nah, I sat in front of a mirror, and whether tears came out or not is irrelevant.
Yeah.
I let go.
Yeah.
I said to myself, this is frustrating me right now.
Yeah.
Sit with this frustration in this moment in time and really just process it, because all it's going to do is stay with you tomorrow, stay with you for the week, and the way you're going to turn up is going to be very toxic. You're not going to be able to like deliver the way you want to.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to just literally like pull it out of you, but in this case just let it just fall out the way it was meant to.
Yeah.
It was interesting. You got to sit with that stuff.
You really do. And I love that you said that, because actually that was one of the things that I had to do. I was working with someone, a coach, and she was like, sit in front of the mirror and watch yourself cry. And I was like, I couldn't look at myself. I literally could not look at myself. And that made me feel even worse, because I was like, wow, I'm denying how I feel.
Yeah.
And so like I just was there sitting in this discomfort, and whatever needed to come, I allowed it to come. And then gently I was like starting from my chin, and slowly I just started to move up and looked at my eyes to witness this being in front of me. And I was like, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. And you know, when I speak about shadow work, it's not just the kind of negative aspects about ourselves, but it can also be creative things that we've been.
I was just going to say that. You keeping a lid on what you love doing, but you've been told you're not allowed to explore that.
Yes. Yeah, your power. I feel that, especially when I do Kundalini activations or energy healing, I'm like, we all have a unique set of gifts.
Yeah.
We were born with a unique set of soul gifts, because we are so individual that we're not meant to do this life alone. We're meant to help other people. But because of the world that we sit in, it's become very individualistic.
Yeah.
Whereas if we were to go back 1,000, 2,000 years, people cared about each other.
What do you, like, what would be like a recommendation for you on that front to encourage people to like step into that place?
Of their gifts, or
just generally, like with this concept of shadow work, because I feel like what you've said right now, I can hone into it and accept it, because I'm like, I work in a wellness space where I get it. As soon as you said like repressing and ignoring, and I'm like, yeah, also the positive things as well, not just negative.
Yeah.
So I get it, but I feel like the everyday listener, or the everyday like man or woman who sits on the train, who is doing this right now, doesn't actively know what they're doing. So what's a recommendation to push someone in a way to really start this shadow work? Because do you do it within your coaching sessions?
Yeah, and actually it's really interesting, because actually through my own process and journey, I was thinking about the exact same thing of, if I myself, who's in this wellness space, is struggling right now, how's the everyday person going to be able to sit with any discomfort or whatever it might be and begin this journey towards wholeness and acceptance? And so there's a number of steps. And actually, I created something, and it's a piece of work that's going to come out soon. It's a journal, a shadow work journal.
There we
because
go.
I want people
Another little plug, just throw that straight in there.
Yeah, definitely, because it's like, I want people to begin and know that it's okay, and it's not as scary as it may seem. Just like you mentioned with the Kundalini activation, honestly, it's not going to be scary at all. So it's like, you just need to give yourself the space to be able to allow yourself to reflect without judgment. So the first thing I would say is start to question. One of the first questions is, what are some of the qualities that I think are bad or negative about people? What are some of the worst qualities out there? List them down. Then go the next step. What's some of the things that I really don't like about myself? Start to look at it without a space of judgment or shame. And then begin to do more of that work where you start to notice patterns from your childhood. what did I learn from my parents is seen as good or bad? What was seen around me as acceptable? For me, it was very much about being a good girl. That to be good was to do your work, get good grades, follow the status quo, do as you're told, and then then it's acceptable for you to be loved. But if you step away from that, then that love becomes very conditional.
Yeah. So I look at it from a perspective where if I tap into, like, say, childhood for me, I was smart, gifted academically, and I felt like I shut the door on a creative side of mine.
Yeah.
And now if I try and deep it a little bit further, what I've learned by going down the academic route was I'm good at solving problems.
Yeah.
Studied maths, good at solving problems. But if I open up the lid for this creative side, it's a case of I don't have to do it in a space where it's on a spreadsheet. I don't have to do it in a space where it's a financial issue. It's more of a case of let's not call it a problem. What's the challenge that's going on right now? And let's help you devise a plan of action to get you from A to B. And being able to slowly step into that allows me to do what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Versus doing what looked good.
Yeah.
What looked good for my parents and family and community was, oh yeah, my son's he did maths at uni. Yeah, he got first. He's an accountant. Yeah, great, cool.
They want the bragging rights, which I get.
and it makes sense. But what now I'm trying to hone in on is elaborating it to them in a bit more detail, that there's a real passion for me to step into this place where I can really encourage man or woman. At the moment it's more women, but I can encourage man or woman to really get in touch with the side of them that they've shut a door on.
Yeah.
I don't call it shadow work, obviously. I haven't gone into it, and I know you have specifically, and there's more to it. And something maybe I should really consider. Just learning a bit more of the terminology and like the possible exercises that allow you to extract that. But
yeah,
I think it's an interesting concept, because I think it's like rule number one I say in coaching. You have all the fucking potential.
Yeah.
You've got it all within you. You've got every answer. You don't even need me.
Yes.
The biggest problem you have right now is releasing that version of you to take action.
Yeah, correct.
You want to make X amount of money doing this. What's stopping you?
Yeah.
Because you know what it is that's stopping you.
Yeah.
Do you require extra help? Do you require further investments? Do you require sleeping a bit more? Do you require making up with your wife or your husband so that you've got a better energy for when you turn up? Like, you know all the answers.
Yeah.
The biggest problem is right now is that you stop yourself because of how you've been conditioned, right?
Exactly. It's the thoughts and the beliefs that we have about ourselves that limit us. So when I was thinking back about my own journey, it was my self-talk that was really putting me down. And I just felt so much guilt and shame. And as I've been doing shadow work, I've been learning that guilt is the feeling that we have when we've done something wrong. Shame is the feeling that we have where we believe we are wrong in our entire being. And actually, when we look at the scale of frequencies of what's high vibe, what's low vibe, for example, shame is the lowest. It's really difficult to get out of that shame cycle and bring yourself to that place of like joy, abundance. And so it's not about spiritually bypassing or faking it until you make it, in terms of being like, I feel great today.
Yeah.
Really, you feel like absolute shit and you don't want to get out of bed. It's about acknowledging, okay, this is how I feel. What's true about it and what's false. You have to learn to ask yourself critical questions.
But this is the problem. I don't feel like people can do that or allow themselves to do that. And then there's a complaint around like, oh, journaling doesn't work, or this doesn't work and it's too expensive. And I'm like, okay, don't do that form of investment.
Yeah.
But then take the knowledge from whatever it is that's available to you right now and apply yourself. Because you're going to keep complaining, fine, but you're not applying yourself any differently.
Yeah.
If you want to see different results, you've got to change it up, because clearly what you're doing isn't working.
For sure. And like, you know, when we're talking about the gym, okay, cool, you've lifted a pound, like two 5 kg dumbbells. Oh, it's not working. I'm not buff yet. It's a muscle. You need to build it. You need to develop it. You need to understand what are some of the habits that you're having right now that are blocking you.
Yeah.
And you have to stay disciplined towards that path. Like, Rome wasn't built in a day. And I know, like, right now, people are looking for the path of least resistance. Trust me, I was one of them.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to stick with something.
I said it to the people that came on earlier. People are very impatient.
Yeah.
We live in a world where we get like so much more instant results, and it's like, well, it's not happening, so I guess I'll just give up. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
And I am a very, very strong believer in, like, if you are quick to identify something's up, put yourself in a position where don't look at it as I'm about to pay for this right now and hopefully it changes it. Look at it as an opportunity where you're about to pay to learn something completely different right now, which is going to push you to do things you already knew you could do, but it's going to force you to approach it very, very differently.
Yeah.
So you're not going to go to, you've hired a new coach or a PT. You're not going to go to the gym now just like you've always been doing it 3 days a week, 4 days a week. Someone's going to tell you, hold the weight there. Because that's going to stimulate something that you've never stimulated before. Some sort of fiber movement or growth. Or they're going to say, what are you doing that for? No. Do it like this or do that instead.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, in a month's time, you're going to be realizing your muscle memory has picked up on that.
Yeah.
And possibly you've dropped a little bit extra weight, or you've built up an extra bit of muscle, or you're able to lift more. And give it 3 months, 6 months, depends on your body type and your genetics, that you'll start to see that transition.
Yeah.
But it's application. I had a little go at my coaches and I was like, the weight ain't dropping like it possibly used to back in the day. And they're like, are you following it to the T? And I'm like, I'm following it to the best of my ability. I won't lie. The truth in it is, brother, we said this was going to work for you. Do all of this first and then tell me it's not working before you making up the rules right now and saying it's not working.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason why there's a plan of action in place. If you don't follow the plan of action, respectfully, you're not going to get it. Now, if you want to stick to your plan, cool. Maybe we need to adapt a little bit differently, but your results are going to come a lot slower. Are you cool with that?
Yeah.
And that's the realization I had to have. I'd be like, fuck, man, I know it's cold out in these streets, but I guess I got to keep walking because these steps ain't coming from my room. You know, I'm not doing anything there.
Yeah.
You got to apply yourself. So
Yeah.
there is a method to all of this. I know we've transgressed and gone everywhere in this conversation.
I love it.
Yeah, unfiltered convos. Sadly, we are going to have to wrap it up sooner than I expected. But we've got this event coming out, and hopefully I would have been there, so we can do a little review on it as well.
I would love that.
That being said, where can everyone still find you, and where can they stay in touch with you? And one thing to just finish that up, what's my intention of this podcast, and I told you, is for people to reach out to the guest and get involved. What's one thing on the back end of you sharing your plugs that you would encourage someone to reach out to you specifically for?
What a great question. So,
let's go with the plugs first.
all right. I'm like, where do I begin? Okay, so you can find me over on Instagram at innerglow with Kiren. I also have a website, kirenbardwa.com, and I also have a podcast called Lessons to My Younger Self, where I speak about all things that I've gone through on my own journey as a way for you to hopefully pick up any gems to support you on yours. And it's a very safe, sacred space where vulnerability can exist, but also some fun. So in terms of, if you want to reach out to me, just know that it's a space of non-judgment, and it's a space where if you're willing to put in the work, then it's going to be such a powerful journey for you.
But what one thing specifically? I know you've got
one thing specifically.
So like what I want you to do right now is basically say to the camera, if you are going through this right now, my DMs are open for you to reach out, just for a safe space.
Okay, I got you.
There we go.
Okay, so if you feel like your life is not working out for you, like all the things that you want to achieve just aren't happening, you're facing roadblock after roadblock, perceived failure after failure, nothing's changing no matter what you do, my DMs are always open for you. Boom. Because I can help you through that.
Boom. There we go. Roadblocks. There we go. Failures. Hit her up. Nah. Big thank you. I want to try and encourage more people to do that, because I feel sometimes that message might not get conveyed within the pod. And it's important to know that there are safe spaces. Like, I can't help everyone.
Yeah.
And if the way you speak, your tone, your style, your practice, even if you've got like a product, like people want to be able to engage. And I feel like if we can start pushing this a bit more out there, it forces a crowd. Like I told you, someone messaged me to say they came to your class from the podcast, and I'm like, yay, kind of thing.
Honestly,
I love it when I hear that, because it's like, I know this is having an effect. And I don't do Kundalini, so obviously I can't host that, but she has, and someone had a great time at it. So big thank you coming through again.
Thank you, I appreciate you.
It's always a good conversation when you get on the pod. So big thank you, and we'll plug all of your links in there, and let's look forward to the inner glow of Kiren journey.
Amen to that.
Let's
honestly.
go.
If you ever want to join an event, like in terms of your listeners, like all the links are available on my socials. If you want to download your copy or buy your physical copy of the Shadow White Journal, you can do that as well. And there's just so much more to expand on in this space. Like, I'm really looking forward to seeing how both of our journeys evolve, because that's all it is. It's expansion.
So part 3, we'll just talk about the journey again.
Let's do it. Why not?
Love. Thank you for coming through, Kiren. Much appreciated. Thank you lot for listening to another episode of the Unfiltered podcast. If you've liked what you listened today, drop us a like. If you've got any comments in regards to what we spoke about, if there's something you disagreed with, or the stuff that you did agree with, drop us a comment. And lastly, if you haven't subscribed yet, give us a subscribe. Whether you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple, or if you're watching this on YouTube, every subscribe goes a long way. And look, why wouldn't you subscribe? If you like the unfiltered nature of the podcast, surely you want to be in tune to whenever the next episode is coming out, right? Anywho, I'll catch you on the next episode of the Unfiltered podcast. It's been your boy Pri, and I'm signing out. Peace.